Hi guys, I know kept saying over and over again, this is my last video, this is my last video, but this is the last video on the water heater. The purpose of this video is just to kind of show the final product, and also a little bit about 3 weeks, I think we're about 3 weeks in, almost a month in to its usage, so kind of a recap of, you know, how it's been for the month. You can see it is finished. I'm sorry I got a little bit further away. I'll take some closer pictures, but I did tie in the condensate tube. Got a little copper here for the pressure relief valve, and just kind of made things clean here. Cleaned it all up. I completely uninstalled the old water heater. That's ready to go. I'm actually got a family tomorrow who's going to take my old tank water heater who needs it, and so I'm going to install that tomorrow. I may be able to film that, and maybe not. We'll see. But all that's been capped off and cleaned up. The only couple issues we had, I forgot to bring the book down with me, but I forget, I think it was on page 25 or 26 of the error codes. We had one error code shown on the device, and it was error code 13, which in the booklet just really doesn't say anything about that. There's error codes for where it gets starved. It can get starved for gas, where the gas pressure drops on it. That could happen because you don't have properly sized gas lines, or maybe your furnace has to kick on and you're boiling some stew, and it gets starved for gas basically. But the code that I got was none of those. It was just kind of an otherwise, just I'm not really sure what it is. It doesn't really explain. It just says reboot or restart the unit, and that's what I did, and it turned back on. Well, it turned out my wife was in the bathtub, and she turned off the valves, but the hot water valve kept running a little bit of water, and she didn't think much about it. She didn't want to bother me. Fine. But after about 20 minutes, that little tiny stream of water went from hot to cold, and when I came down here, this was beeping, and that said 13 on it. Well, what turned out was that hot water valve happened to fail. It was leaking by. Normally I'm pretty careful with all the copper work I do, and I read my pipes. I make sure they're all clean. So it could have been something I did, but we'll check on that. So far we haven't had any other issues. Luckily in that bathtub I have a shut-off valve underneath, so I was able to just shut that off. And we could still run it. We just have to use the valve underneath to run the hot water, and not the knob itself. But nothing has happened since then. So I think maybe there's some protection in this unit to where if there is a slow leak, that this unit doesn't run constantly on the hot water side. That's my guess anyway. We haven't had any other issues. If we do, I'll call Rheem support, but it's been running like a champ ever since. The other thing we had was my wife didn't like that it wasn't hot enough. So this unit, when you first start it up in the default settings, you can bump this from 100 degrees to 120, and it stops at 120. Well, reading in the manual, and I think there's probably some videos on this, what you can do, if you can see my fingers here, this is the up button and the down button. What I did was, they say to turn off the gas and water before you do this, but really it's just to prevent someone from getting scalded when you go up to the higher number. So just make sure no one's running the water at the time. You're maybe the only one home. And then just hold the top button down, the up button down, and you'll see the display flash 140. As you're holding the top button down, click the down button, and that'll lock in, and it'll give you access to between 0 and 140 degrees Fahrenheit. And you can see I have it running just above the previous maximum of 125, and that seems to be good. But now I have the headroom to go all the way up to 140 if I want to. So far everything's running great, and we're liking it, and in fact running good enough to where I finally disconnected my tank water heater. That's completely disconnected, and by tomorrow it's going to be used by another family. So so far so good. I guess in a year I'll probably have another video on doing the maintenance work on this, running the descaling solution, so look forward to that. But otherwise, thanks so much, and like and subscribe.